I was talking to a pastor who recently retired. He had a standing joke with his congregation that he was paid to be good and they were good for nothing. He said upon retiring, he said, "I'm good for nothing." It was humorous, it was tongue in cheek, but it's interesting because I think that joke undervalues both the role he had as pastor, but also the role that the members of the congregation have in the ministry and the work of Christ. Pastor or non-pastor, all of us who are Christ followers are called to a high calling. The Apostle Paul says in 2 Corinthians 5:17 in the following verses, he says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away, behold, the new has come. All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled to us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation." These verses highlight two important truths. The first is that through our faith in Christ, the very essence of who we are changes. We become a new creation. We change from being an enemy of God into being adopted as his child. We're made new in Christ. But it's more than just being made new. We're made new for a purpose. We've been given the privilege, the responsibility, the high calling, the ministry of reconciliation. In verse 20, Paul says we've been appointed ambassadors for Christ, and that God uses us to help other people be reconciled to God. As my friend joked, pastors are paid to be good. We're paid for the mission, and hopefully it's more than just being good. The sense of mission might not be as clear to the congregation members because of how my pastor joked, "You're good for nothing." Personally, I think the significance of your role in the mission is probably more important than the role of the pastor. Ministry happens in the local church, but most ministry of the church happens outside the walls of the church. What you do as a Christ follower in your workplace, in your neighborhood, in your home, matters far more than the ministry that takes place in the church. This is especially true as we're a culture that is increasingly unchurched. There's so many people who've never been into the church except for perhaps a wedding or a funeral. The concept of being church-oriented is not part of their vocabulary. Spirituality in our culture has become more akin to Star Wars and the Force than the faith that's taught and practiced in the Christian church. They describe people's movement towards Christianity as a process that comes through stages. And the first stage is an awareness of the gospel and Christianity by interactions with people who are Christ followers. The second step is seeing the relevance of the gospel or the Christian faith in the personal life of individuals or in how it impacts society. What you do as Christ followers in work and home creates this awareness, and it demonstrates this relevance of the gospel of Christianity to people's lives. There was a movie out called The Blues Brothers, and in that movie the two main characters had been members of an orphanage, had been raised in an orphanage, and the orphanage was about to go bankrupt. And the two guys that are the lead characters basically are trying to raise money to save the orphanage. They're rogue. They break a number of laws in the process. But as they go through this whole movie, the line they use over and over is, "We're on a mission from God." What would it look like for us to realize that we're on a mission from God? Say it out loud and let it sink in. I'm on a mission from God. It's hard to believe that it's true. The God of the universe who made us new put us on a mission for him. It's true at home, it's true at work, and it's true everywhere in between. The passage that Paul writes carries on. Let me read it again. "All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. Therefore we are ambassadors of Christ, God making his appeal to us, through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. We're ambassadors for Christ. We are on a mission from God. What an incredible calling and privilege we have. And I'm so excited about how God is going to use us.